It's not the case that you can simply say, okay, let's just find the fast growth industries. We'll focus there, that's where growth comes from. Turns out that job creation comes in the worst of industries. And if you look at survivability, because what we care about is not creating a job, but
sticky jobs.
A sustainable job, right, a sticky job. Well, it turns out that it's fascinating. One of the, if you look at metropolitan areas, Youngstown, Ohio, has a very high survivability rate.
Huh.
Okay, why is that? Well, I would argue, without living in Youngstown myself, but I would argue that you think very carefully about what industries you start a job in Youngstown. Okay. Because you know that unlike Las Vegas of old, all the boats aren't going to float up. You're not going to be helped if you start a weak business by a strong economy. You have an economy that's going to be tough in Youngstown, and has been tough for quite a few decades. So that means that if you start a business, it's well thought out, it's well positioned, and it might be in a slow growth sector, but you're going to succeed or have a higher probability of success. And so that's another thing I've learned about the economy, is that simple factoids are useless.
So what you're saying, for example, in that example is, if you're a civic official, state government, city government, county, whatever, it matters as to what kind of a job you bring in to your county or city.
Exactly.
It's not just a matter of I got 500 jobs. If it's a 500 wrong jobs, 2 years later, it'll be gone.
That's right. And you know that we have some classic historical examples of Pennsylvania and the Volkswagen plant and things like that. But I think the issue is that cities and even states make a mistake when they say, "Oh, biotech, that's the growth industry. We're going to get a biotech sector in our city." When in fact they never had any biotech. Okay.
Okay.
One needs to look at where they've been successful and where they've created jobs in the past, and what jobs are sustainable, in order to figure out what they need to attract in the future. So there are lots of economic development agencies that need to stop listening to consultants who are selling these bag of tricks about how to get industries that everyone else is competing for, and instead look much more carefully at the underlying dynamics in their economy. And what I found is that it's fascinatingly different across cities, and it makes sense if you think about it. Economies are not they're not blind time series. They're not numbers. They're people trying to make a business work.
Yeah.
So if the more understanding they can have about their business and their environment, I think the better they'll do, and I think that's one of the advantages of my database. But I also think that we need, as policymakers, to say what works here may be very different than what works in Orlando or California or Iowa.